Hi, I'm Kristin Diehl. I'm a professor of marketing at Marshall, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of my research on how photo taking affects experiences. Ever since we've had smartphones, our ability to take and look at pictures and share pictures has gone up tremendously. Any kind of experience I have, I can now capture visually, and I can share that experience with other people. In fact, their first encounter of an experience may be through my photos. And then, of course, I can look back at them later, which is why I take them in the first place. So the vast majority of us will have thousands of pictures on our phone, and hence the questions I and my co-authors have been asking is, how does taking photos affect your experiences in the first place? And how does the intention to share these photos affect your experiences? So I'll share with you data from a number of different studies and a number of different papers, but I'll start with how photo taking affects the experience itself. Photo taking is a forward-looking behavior. I take pictures because I want to capture a moment in time in order to revisit those pictures and that moment later. But in order to do that, I have to take photos now. And the first question we asked, what about the experience itself? How does photo taking affect that experience in the first place? You may have your own beliefs of how photo taking affects your experiences, and maybe that's why you're interested in this talk to begin with. So did we. However, in research, we need to step outside our own lens, and that's what we did. We asked 200 people what they thought would happen. And what we found was that a bit more than a third said they thought photo taking will increase enjoyment. And almost a third said it would reduce enjoyment, and the rest said it wouldn't affect their enjoyment. We also did this purely with older adults, and what changed there was only that fewer people thought it wouldn't matter. And it splits more evenly between team increase and team decrease. Now, obviously, those are beliefs, and we know that that's not always what's true. Hence, we did a series of studies both in the field and in the lab, and I want to share some of them with you today to see what actually happens when we take photos of experiences. So in this field study, we asked people who came to eat lunch at the food stalls at Philadelphia's Reading Terminal Market whether they would be part of a survey about their lunch experience. For those who agreed to participate, we randomly assigned them to one of two groups. One group we told to eat their meals, but to also please take at least 3 photos with their smartphone. The control group we asked to eat their meal as they normally would. And after people were done with their meal, we gave them a short questionnaire asking them how much they enjoyed the experience and how much they felt immersed in their experience. And what we find is that those who were taking photos reported enjoying the lunch experience more, and they felt they were more immersed in their experience, which honestly was a little bit surprising to us. But this is a result we find over and over again. Actively taking photos, and by that I mean choosing what to take photos of, gets people more immersed in the experience. And if it's a positive experience, they enjoy the experience more. So we did some follow-up studies to examine exactly how photo taking changes how people approach their experience that causes them to be more immersed. And in the next study I want to show with you, the way we did that was by tracking what people looked at. So all participants in this study wore eye-tracking glasses. And you can imagine them a little bit like Google Glass. So it's a frame with clear glasses. It's not super intrusive, but we can track what a person looks at. We did this in a museum, and again we asked a group of people to take photos, in this case at least 10 photos, and we have another group that was asked to just view the exhibit as they normally would. Obviously, normally nobody would wear eye tracking glasses, but this was the same for everybody in the study. And again, we're interested in the difference between the group that takes photos versus the group that doesn't take photos in terms of their own reported enjoyment and immersion, but more importantly, in terms of these physiological measures of how long they look at things and which things they look at in the exhibit. And what we found, similar to our lunch study, is that people enjoyed the exhibit more and reported feeling more engaged when they took photos compared to when they didn't take photos. More importantly, what the eye tracking data showed us is that people actually look at the world differently when they take photos. Those with a camera spend a larger proportion of their exhibit time looking at the artifacts, and they looked at them more frequently. And what that shows us is that they really were more engaged with these artifacts because those are the things they were considering to photograph. In the studies I've shown you so far, we assumed that people were taking photos for themselves. Yet, when you think about photo taking, you probably think also about sharing photos with others, whether it's in real life or on social media. And that's obviously something that happens quite frequently. Hence, we were also interested in how even the mere intention to share photos later can affect people's experiences. In order to study how the intention to share photos affects one's experience, we recruited people for a study taking place over Christmas. One group of participants was told to take photos over the holidays with the ultimate goal of keeping them for themselves as a reminder. The other group was told to take photos over the holidays with the ultimate goal of sharing them with others. Then during the Christmas holidays, they took photos, and on December 27th, they responded to a survey, and they also uploaded their pictures. And what we were interested in is how taking photos for oneself versus to share with others affected the experience, and whether it actually changed what kind of photos they captured. On December 27th, we asked people to create a 10-photo album, either to keep for themselves or to share with others. And interestingly, when creating albums to share with others, these albums included more pictures that were posed rather than candid. There were more pictures of people smiling, and these albums also included more photos typical of Christmas, for example, pictures that included presents or a Christmas tree. What this suggests is that when people have the intention to share their photos, they do so using different kinds of pictures, and those pictures have the viewer in mind that they want to tell a story to. So how does the intention to share one's photos affect the enjoyment of the experience? It turns out that people enjoyed the holidays overall less when they intended to share their photos versus when they intended to keep them for themselves. In a number of subsequent studies, we then found out why. We previously saw that engagement increases enjoyment, and we know that when we take photos for ourselves, that increases engagement and ultimately enjoyment. The issue with taking photos to share is that it makes people more concerned about what other people will think about their photos and about themselves. And that's not a good thing. Being concerned about what other people think about us reduces engagement, because I'm now also thinking about other things rather than just the experience, and ultimately that reduces enjoyment. So what we learned from these and a number of other studies we conducted is that photo taking can enhance our experiences, and the reason for that is that photo taking can draw us into these experiences and get us to pay closer attention. Naturally, it comes with caveats, and one big one is that this is not going to be the case to the same extent when we have the intention to share our photos with others. We also focus on experiences where photo taking doesn't interfere with the experience itself. When that's not the case, when we have to choose between engaging in the experience and taking photos, photo taking is no longer beneficial. So where does that leave you during your next experience? Based on what we found, do take photos for yourself or for your close family and friends. But do take photos in a way that doesn't interfere with your experience, and to be a good person, not with the experience of people around you. And when you share with close family and friends, you're not as self-conscious about sharing with them as you are sharing with larger and more socially distant groups. And so sharing doesn't affect you as much. And finally, share only after the experience is over so that taking and sharing photos doesn't interfere with the experience itself. I hope you found this interesting, and if you want to find out more about my work, please check out my webpage or follow me on Twitter, where I share thoughts and ideas about consumer behavior in general, or on Instagram, where I focus more on thoughts and ideas about photo taking. So thanks so much for listening, and fight on!